Back in 2018, I did a quick video on my favorite filler moments from Dragon Ball Z, also a runtime of under 15 minutes. How the hell did I do that? And to this day, it still gets views. There's just something interesting about that old Dragon Ball anime pacing that's ever relevant, and it got me thinking. I've covered filler that's generally beloved, but there's a lot of filler that I like that isn't as regarded, so I want to go over some of the worst Dragon Ball filler that I still enjoy to go back to. These will be moments or episodes that I've generally heard are hated or lackluster to the fan base in my 2.5 decades of following the series. And by filler, I go by the old school definition where if it's any content not in the manga made specifically for the anime, it counts as filler. And if you see filler that's not on this list, it could mean I'm not a fan, or it could just mean that this filler is good without me having to hype it up. Now, let's get positive with the top 10 worst filler in Dragon Ball Z that I still like. Number 10. Bulma and Frog Ginyu. This one mainly makes the list since I like the individual aspects of it, but the sum of its parts are a bit too contrived. As you probably remember, when Ginyu accidentally swapped bodies with a frog, they let him go, and it always bothered me that Toriyama never did anything with that in the manga since it was such a good hanging plot thread. The anime though liked him for some small scenes, like him trying to futilely steal the Dragon Balls. I like how he was still dedicated to the mission. But the big thing they gave Bulma to do during some of the Frieza fight episode filler was she met Ginyu Frog thinking he was a normal frog with abnormal intelligence. She gives him chocolate and he starts dancing around. I don't know if that was part of the act to win her over, or if he actually does this when he gets chocolate, since the Ginyu Force does love their sugar and dancing. Just remember though, this is a grown man dancing for chocolate. Anyway, after winning over Bulma, she decides she wants to talk to this innocuous frog and conveniently makes an animal translator device, to which Ginyu uses it to say change now and they swap bodies. But there it is, there's the payoff. Now he's going to try to power climb. The only issue is, he's really bad at being Bulma. He can't help but admire Frieza when he meets up with the Dragon Team in disguise, which honestly, I like that we got to see Ginyu's reaction to Frieza fighting. It was such a rare sight for anyone to see Frieza fight at the time. I get why Ginyu would drop everything and be like, holy crap, you guys gotta see this! I also appreciate the fake out when Gohan sees Frog Bulma and you think he's gonna figure out what's up, but then he's like, I know you! You're Ginyu! Go enjoy your life as a frog now. But because everything needs to go back to normal eventually, Ginyu targets Piccolo for the body change, and Gohan does the heads-up frog throw to swap Ginyu and Bulma back, and they both retreat. I wish there could have been some resolution besides Gohan repeating the exact maneuver that Goku did, but it was kind of where there weren't many options to begin with if they didn't want to make this go on forever. Like they could have done the whole, ooh, Ginyu is Piccolo, and now Piccolo is Bulma, and Bulma is still the frog, and now they have to swap even more to get back to the start. However, there was a main plot they had to get back to, so I get why they had to cut it off there. Thanks for the payoff on leaving Ginyu alive at least. It means we didn't have to wait until Super for something. Number 9. Yajirobe at the Saiyan Crash site. This will be the only Saiyan Saga filler on the list, since I think filler from that arc is the gold standard. Almost none of it counts as the worst filler to me. It's when Toei was still doing the original Dragon Ball anime formula, where it was mostly episodic, showing training, or what happens during a canonical break. Love it. It adds so much to character development. All the Gohan interactions with strangers rather than him just being skilled after a time skip, Goku running into issues on Snake Way instead of just running with nothing, Vegeta and Nappa on Arlia instead of just sleeping the whole time, the Pendulum Room training with Popo, and actually seeing what the Dragon Team was doing during the time gap, Yamcha playing baseball, a Toriyama idea, and Launch even being around and hanging out with Ten Shinhan. Yes, good, more, she's here. I even love the scenes of Nappa destroying the planes when they were waiting for Goku to arrive, and that scene is iconic if you watch the old dub because they put it in the theme song for some reason. Dragon Ball Kai might be good for the speed and the dub, but every drop of that Saiyan Saga filler was so fun to watch, but I might be gassing it up too much. There was a bit of filler in this arc that was kinda just whatever to fans. One piece of filler that people don't particularly laud are all the extra Yajirobe scenes. In the manga, we see he got to the Saiyan fight late, applauds Goku when he thinks the fight fight is won and hides when it's not, and does the famous tail slash, which is one of my favorite moments in the series. The anime, though, decided to show a bit of Yajirobe's journey getting to the battle site, and with Yajirobe producing my favorite moments sometimes, I appreciated him getting fleshed out more here. In the episode when the dragon team assembles, they show the aftermath of Nappa blowing up a city, which is a cool detail. Sometimes things just blow up in Dragon Ball and we never see the repercussions. Like, yeah, the news should be all over this. And Yajirobe's on site assessing if this is something he even wants to touch. Based on previous arcs, I love that Yajirobe is a risk management guy. He knows when he can't win, so he just avoids the conflict. But if provoked enough, like seeing Goku fight because he knows the world is doomed otherwise, he carefully joins in when he knows his skills will work. Here, he's determining nope. Then when the cops and journalists see him doing this, they're intrigued why he knows so much, so he gets free food from them while he tells them about this threat. I love how he acts like it's no big deal since he says Goku's gonna save them, and he was there for the King Piccolo arc, so he knows that's possible, but also not possible. But then he thinks to himself, is this my last meal? Knowing that his help might be needed, and that explains why he goes to the battlefield instead of just showing up there out of obligation. On a side note, I like that the police chief is a dog man. This was after animal people were pretty much phased out in Dragon Ball, but the filler kept that early Dragon Ball vibe alive. Also, I like that Yajirobe gets a bunch of cash for this. I never really thought of him being a guy who needs to pay for things. Finally, I like how after it's revealed Vegeta isn't dead, instead of going back into hiding like he does in the manga, the filler adds one more scene of Yajirobe doing his whole "I'm in it for myself" routine, and he drives away. But once again, he has this self-reflection where he says damn it after stopping, and there's this nice shot of the birds flying above him, since you know he knows he did the wrong thing and there's beauty on this earth. And the next time we see him, he's doing the famous tail slash, so now we know he did do the right thing. I don't think this filler is hated, but it's in a sea of good filler from this arc, so it's mediocre by comparison. Not to me though, I love Yajirobe character moments. Number 8, the Red Ribbon Army flashback. This is probably the weirdest entry on this list. This episode is straight up a flashback episode with framing and commentary. These are the episodes you fast forward through, but I'll explain my strange reasoning. In the middle of Goku's fight against Android 19, over at Kame House, Marin returns, who is Krillin's filler girlfriend during the Garlic Jr. saga. She broke containment and appeared during a canon arc. She's looking for Krillin, but Roshi tells her that he's fighting off the Red Ribbon Army's robots. She does the Valley Girl shtick and thinks it's an actual ribbon that's going to be a gift for her, so Roshi gives us like a 5-minute recap of the Red Ribbon Army saga from the Tao fight to the end, with a bit of commentary and clips from the original episodes. When it's all done, Roshi's like, "Doesn't that sound epic?" And Marin gives us a ditzy, I didn't follow any of that. Love that kind of punchline. However, a big reason I like this is for the context of why they felt like they needed a flashback episode. This episode premiered in 1992 in Japan. The specific episodes of the Red Ribbon Army arc they flashed back to that were relevant to this part of the arc were from 1987. You could have had kids watching at the time that were not watching 5 years prior. And with this being well before streaming and when the series was just on a weekly basis, this might have been the only way to catch up on this older arc, especially with how Toei was pushing Dragon Ball Z as its own series, putting the original Dragon Ball series less in the spotlight. It's not like they were just flashing back to the previous arc or even earlier in the arc. There was a significant real-world time gap. And while I like that reason, a guilty pleasure reason I also like this episode is the original English dub version of it is so much of a mess, it's genuinely fun for me to watch. Funimation did not get to dubbing the original Dragon Ball series until like 2001, so this episode came out in 2000 before the original Red Ribbon Army episodes flashed back to were dubbed, and the team had no idea what to do with it. You have different voice actors compared to the eventual Dragon Ball dub that were treating these like one-off characters, like Chris Sabat voicing Tao, and voices I don't even recognize voicing Commander Red and Officer Black, but it's not who eventually voiced them in the dub. And they added extra Roshi monologue with wrong info, like him saying Tao was a general and the army's leader, and referring to Officer Black as one guy left in Goku's way. Gonna tell us who that guy is, or just imply that the final battle was some random goon? Funimation went back and redubbed some lines from many episodes before they released the uncut series in 2005, but they never went back and fixed these, in fairness because this part of the episode is insignificant. Also for US viewers, this was pretty much our first exposure to seeing Dragon Ball footage, since they did not start airing original Dragon Ball on TV until the Buu saga was premiering, so this was purely new content for us too. Finally, this filler produced an unexpected gag a few episodes later, when we see Marin is still on the island when Vegeta is fighting 18. Some guys arrive trying to hit on her, and Turtle defends Marin by beating them up and doing some Bruce Lee poses at them. I can't recall Turtle doing anything in the Z portion of the anime besides this and his birthday filler. Look at this imagery, it's awesome, how can you not love it? Marin then pulls a mental reversal on herself when Turtle says he won't accept a thank you kiss from Krillin's girlfriend, and she's like, Krillin this, Krillin that, whose idea was it to care about him so much? And she leaves forever. On one hand, it feels like a cop-out to get rid of her fast, but it is funny how she went, hey, I'm interested in this guy, but you can't tell me I'm interested in this guy. Whose idea was to even be interested in this guy? Yours? Huh, screw you. Number 7, Chi-Chi's crew to Namek. I loved getting random updates from Earth during the time on Namek. I liked the old members of the Dragon team and when they get to do something active, so this was a fun little plotline, interspersed between random episodes starting with the Raccoon vs. Gohan fight. Chi-Chi senses Gohan's in trouble because of motherly instinct, so she demands Dr. Brief get her a functioning spaceship so she can go to Namek and save him. Of course though, you know it has to fail, she tries again and she gathers the B-Squad before the ultimate failure. You knew they were gonna make no progress and be put back where they were, but damn if it doesn't look cool seeing them all in their spacesuits ready for action. Yeah, Jirobe could probably take out some Frieza goons, and Roshi was in a weird spot at this point in the series where he was treated as if he lost all of his fighting skill, but I know he would hold his own to an extent. Oolong and Puar though, they were just there for nostalgia, but I'm happy they were the 4th and 5th team member. As for Chi-Chi, the anime staff really focused on her loading up on guns. I don't know where this obsession came from, but she was doing this in the Saiyan Saga filler too. She just kept on obtaining more firearms. I love how sure she is that this will make up for the skill gap. I always like to suggest Chi-Chi for fighting games, but I guess we were sleeping on her having a bullet spray super. Part of why this filler could get tiring is it exaggerates Chi-Chi's worst traits. Why would she forget everything we know about the dangers of space after this was all carefully planned? However, her doing this specifically for Gohan is still in character. She eventually slaps Super Buu when he's docile because she's mad that he allegedly killed her son, so this is on par with that scene. She throws away the plan when it comes to family. So even though it was a mission destined to fail, I easily would have watched a few episodes with this crew. Number 6, Kid Buu in Otherworld. I do think the characters were acting a bit stupid here, but I like who was involved. There's 2 parts to this. First, after Super Buu eats everyone in the lookout, we get some filler scenes sprinkled in later episodes of Bulma, Chi-Chi, Videl, and Deborah hanging out in some flowery area in the afterlife looking for Gohan. The Ghost Bottoms always kinda weirded me out here. And in the fighter section of Otherworld, Krillin and Yamcha are brought to the afterlife to train. No love for Oolong, Puar, Ox King, Mr. Popo, Roshi, or 18. Especially surprised 18 got no love here. Anyway, I like how we get some unexpected Yamcha focus here. He was pretty much done in the manga at this point, but he gets a funny moment where he breaks up a serious conversation by pointing out how cool the Otherworld showers are, and he gets some character development that is never touched on again because it's filler, where he is getting serious about fighting again when training with the other fighters there, even managing to take down a Lebu, who was shown to be at the power level of Cell in earlier filler. This raised a bit of controversy back in the day among fans, since it implies Yamcha is now as strong as Cell all of a sudden, but I chalk it up to technique versus strength. Something about the wolf movement probably threw a Lebu off, which is my headcanon. Also, I don't really care about the lore implications, I just think it's cool. Also, it was just nice to see the Otherworld tournament folk again. The last time we see this place for an extended period of time was after Kid Buu blows up the Earth. Goku and Vegeta recoup at the Kai planet for a bit, but Buu follows them there almost immediately in the manga. In the anime though, he just randomly goes to planets, blowing them up, and eventually lands in Otherworld. Krillin, Yamcha, and King Kai know what's up, but Pikkon and Alibu start hazing him, not knowing who he is. Are you guys gonna stop them? Don't just look in fear. When you die, when you're dead, then you're really dead. Kid Buu then fights a few of them. We see a Kienzan fail. Come on, Krillin, why'd you get excited when it hit? You know he can regenerate. And then Kid Buu threatens to blow it all up until Goku and Vegeta raise their power levels to bring the plot back to their focus. I don't know why Kid Buu didn't throw the Planet Burst ball and then teleport over to them, but they're lucky he didn't feel like dealing with a mess before leaving. Also, he talks in this scene, only time he talks. He probably would have tried to blow it all up if no one confronted him anyway, but man, what a send-off moment for Pikkon. Number 5. Chobi the Dinosaur. The Great Saiyaman arc is hard for me to gauge in general with fans. I remember people got a bit tired of it quickly since it was a goofy slice-of-life lull in the action, but I love those things, so it was a great time for me. As such, the filler extending this part of the anime felt like it was hit and miss, between Gohan making the Saiyaman persona and Videl easily getting him to accidentally reveal his identity in the manga storyline. We got 3.5 filler episodes in the anime. First was Gohan's first date, which was fine. It had the silly underwear punchline, and Chi-Chi gives us a flashback of her first date with Goku, and it's new footage that emulates old Dragon Ball footage perfectly. Next episode is Videl taking out the Red Shark Gang with some Saiyaman help. I consider this to be top-notch filler, and I did an entry in a previous video about how it was Videl's best fighting moment despite being filler, so it's nowhere near being the worst filler for me. And the final episode on this filler train will be the highlight of this entry. A corrupt circus ringleader steals a baby pterodactyl named Chobi, who lives near the Sohn house, and Gohan has to rescue him, both because it's a baby dinosaur who lives peacefully with his wild family, and because he knows the parent pterodactyls will raise hell to get their son back. So Gohan tries to take Chobi back from the circus. The ringleader sees this as a chance to pull the reversal and say Gohan is stealing from them, and then Videl shows up with the authorities, and we get the ultimate Videl vs. Saiyaman clash. But then the parent dinosaurs come and we get Jurassic Park lessons. Gohan is able to soothe them by revealing that it's their friend Gohan and not this strange Saiyaman fellow. And they're like, oh, hey, we know you. Sorry about that. No casualties. We'll be taking our kid. Then Videl's like, hey, you had to reveal your name to save the city, and uses that as leverage to make Gohan teach her to fly, and we get back to the manga plot line. I just love the story of Gohan doing the Save the Animals plot line. It reminds me of the wholesome Dragon Ball era episodic filler, and it goes over a less explored aspect from the early series of Goku's family's connection with nature. They live in the woods, so of course the wildlife like the dinosaurs like them. They play with them, as long as they're not eating them. Not to mention, I like seeing the day-to-day routine when the world is at peace, and I did miss seeing dinosaurs casually appearing in the universe. We hadn't seen them since like the Saiyan saga. Also, Goten is at his cutest in this episode, like him just popping out of the dinosaur nest in his pajamas. The main reason this filler isn't really adored, besides dragging out the side stories, is it makes a big spectacle out of Videl finding out Saiyaman's identity. As mentioned, the manga makes Videl smart, or Gohan's disguise kinda flimsy, and it's pretty much instant discovery. Here though, they hem and haw that she's right on the cusp, and it takes dinosaurs about to destroy the city for her to find out. Makes Videl appear less clever, so I get the disdain for it. I'm mostly here for the goofy stories. Oh, and I said 3.5 episodes. The half of an episode is actually after this episode, where Gohan mistakes a movie set for a real robbery, and it turns out the movie studio is making a great Saiyaman movie, and they invite him onto the set because they think he's a cosplayer who can be a stunt person. The main thing I like about this is the director and assistant are just Commander Red and Staff Officer Black lookalikes. I like to think that's somehow them, but they've been revived and decided ruling the world isn't their thing, and they just want to make movies now. This is a good end for them. Number 4, A Bad Day for Bulma on Namek. I used to be surprised when I heard people didn't like this filler. These episodes were always iconic to me. The one Dragon Ball in the team's possession on Namek gets away from Bulma, so she has to retrieve it from the bottom of a lake, and that puts her in the sights of Frieza's men. So we get a battle of wit and tech versus strength. First off, what I love about this is we get to see some old-fashioned Dragon Ball technology that reminds reminds me of the original Dragon Ball hunts. When the ball goes down the lake, Bulma takes out her submarine. Then we get to see its grabber arms when Bulma gets sidetracked by a giant pearl, and when that leads to the ball falling into a pile of giant crab eggs, the crab destroys the sub, and we get to see Bulma's mini-mech. And the crab was justified in attacking her. Those are its eggs. The eggs hatch though to make the crab back off and let Bulma take the non-egg. And realistically, when she emerges, Frieza's men see her with the ball and think that she has more info, so they capture her to interrogate her. They don't believe her, but she uses some mind tricks to tell them that the balls can grant them power beyond Frieza's control. I like how the goons take a bit to convince. They don't just blindly listen to her right away. She then tricks them a second time into thinking the excess crab eggs are the rest of the Dragon Balls, and the crab attacks them instead. That was such good foreshadowing from earlier. Bulma's initial encounter with the crab was good on its own, but using that as a setup for how she would eventually take out the henchmen was brilliant. We even get a fake out that they're okay and they're just gonna kill Bulma, but the crab pursues them, kills them, and Bulma goes back into hiding. I feel like this filler was not that popular since it was such a runaround and less action-packed. It was in the lull between Zarbon's defeat and the Ginyu Force arriving, so going from those high-stakes fights back to low-level minions sounds like it could be a downgrade, but with how long the stronger characters were gone, I always found it feasible that Bulma would be discovered at least once. Frieza had this entire planet being surveyed. Her role was to keep lookout. She was a major part of the trio. I just wanted to see her play a role in keeping the balls away from the villains. It reminds me of how in the Red Ribbon Army arc, when Goku, Krillin, and Bulma were fighting against General Blue as the main threat, Roshi and even Launch were taking on Commander Dark and his lower-level soldiers at Kame House on the side. Finally, Bulma is funny in this filler. She's in Looney Tunes mode. There's her imagination when she's thinking about that big-ass pearl and the face she makes. Then when she escapes from the henchmen in the air, she realizes she can't fly and does this mid-air swimming motion. And finally, she scurries up a ditch trying to get away again, only to grab a loose rock and fall right back down. Don't underestimate Bulma's comedy, it's just as good as her smarts. Number 3. The Dragon Ball hunt during the Buu saga. The hunt for the Dragon Balls became an off-screen thing after it happened for the second time. During King Piccolo, Roshi and crew got them off-screen, Bulma and crew had them already when it was time to wish Goku back during the Saiyan invasion, Mr. Popo gathered them without a scene when the crew was on Namek, they were gathered off-screen again during the Cell Games wait, and finally, Vegeta sacrifices himself against Majin Buu, and when we check back in with Bulma, they've already been gathered again. The anime added part of the journey as side scenes for the Piccolo, Cell, and Buu searches, with the former two having pretty beloved filler, or at the very least, people liked seeing Tao again. But for the Buu Saga Dragon Ball search, I've seen people say it's hit, miss, or just a waste of time, mainly for the Yamcha character assassination. He seems to be too shy to do anything when he has the skills to literally do everything. This was right after Vegeta sacrificed himself and the crew was trying to get the Dragon Balls to wish everyone back who was killed at the tournament, and of course in the manga we cut back to them and they had everything off screen. The anime though adds some levity after the big Vegeta sacrifice, which was great for me, but some people wanted to keep the plot moving. There's a ball of pure evil on the loose. We see the crew is trying to get the last ball, the 4-star one if there's any symbolism this time, and Bulma is trying to get it from a dinosaur nest and is struggling for dear life not to knock it off the branch. Now I trust Bulma in retrieving the Dragon Balls, she's an expert, but if she's at risk of falling, why doesn't someone who can fly just get it? Videl, Yamcha, and 18 are there, but 18 gives the reason that she can't get wet because she's a cyborg, which I'll accept, and Videl is still new at this, but Yamcha, he could solve this. It's about the suit, isn't it? Anyway, a dinosaur eats it, Bulma makes some of her funniest faces in the series, and Yamcha finally does something by throwing a ki blast at it, landing it right in the water. And now he's too timid to retrieve it because he can't get his suit wet, and his boxers are apparently too flashy if he takes it off. Come on, no one cares about your boxers, and they do actually look kinda cool. Also, second embarrassing underwear themed joke in the Buu Saga filler. Blah blah blah, it happened twice. Anyway, again, Videl takes charge by jumping in first, and this is what I love about the filler. We get to see what it would have been like if Videl got to do more after integrating with the Dragon team. She's being helpful, and it turns this into a team effort since everyone tries tries to dive in now. And by tries to, I mean Roshi gets a bit of the character assassination bug too, and is too scared to go in, so 18 kicks him in, and before he even touches the water, he gets the dinosaur to cough out the ball with a fart joke. Toriyama has done them before, so it's fine. It just shows that Roshi is only being used for gags at this point. But I like the team effort. I would have been so down for a mini hunt for the Dragon Balls arc with this team. Videl gives us that outsider point of view where she's like, this is awesome. And it was nice to see Bulma and Chi-Chi taking charge without being exaggerated. Videl though is the highlight for me. Whether it was the Dragon Ball hunt nostalgia or seeing the delay of Videl becoming irrelevant, this episode was fantastic. Number 2, Fake Namek. Now this is some grade A bad filler on paper. Pretty easy to see why it's hated. It comes right after some other episodes of pure filler with the orphan kids, but now we have 4 episodes where we're told we're starting a new arc on Namek for 3 of them, and we do a shortened Dragon Ball hunt, only to have all progress erased, and then we go to real Namek right afterwards. At least with the Space Orphan filler before this, which is still not particularly liked, it's set up for the cruelty of Frieza coming up. Fake Namek, though, was a runaround where we end up right back where we were and explains nothing that helps us. But considering this list topic, why is it here? I guess it's kinda grown on me now that I'm well past watching the series for the first time. I like that we get a mini Dragon Ball hunt with this specific team, and they get creative with each location. I love looking at all these set pieces. It's like a classic Dragon Ball hunt, just showing us the last minute and results of each ball. We get to see a dinosaur again, there's a countdown in a corrosive lake that's eating away at Gohan's suit, there's a sand tornado, and there's a giant. This guy looks neat, and like he's made of marble the way he breaks. Then on the reveal that the 2 Namekians that were helping them are just different aliens the whole time who can read minds and create illusions, they did a good job of explaining all the foreshadowing and planning that was involved. The planet was such a hodgepodge of stuff because they were just making up distractions. The reason the 2 Namekian disguises looked more like Kami was because he was one of the 2 Namekians they knew at the time of the mind scanning. They even explained the Dragon Radar detecting fake Dragon Balls because that was an illusion in their mind that was being projected on the radar. The climax of the aliens attempting to steal the ship but not knowing the door command was a nice way to use a canon plot point too. Even during this moment of peril, they still manage some comedy. I like when Bulma is sneakily following them, the aliens determine they have to go back to get Bulma to open the door, so they accidentally run over her twice, only to notice that last rock they stepped on was weird, and Bulma is like, hey guys. I also like when the aliens sarcastically say the planet has plenty of lizards and other gross stuff for them to eat when trying to strand them. Krillin re-enters the frame heroically after escaping their trap and says, I hate lizards. And when the aliens say they're not going to kill them because they're not barbaric, that line comes back after Gohan stops them from boarding the ship, and he's surprised they went down so easily, so one of them replies, I told you, we're not barbaric. If you treat this like a movie rather than an impediment, it's a fun exploration of an unseen part of the Dragon Ball universe. But as mentioned, this filler is hated, not just from the runaround, but it's 4 episodes long. If you were watching this weekly when it was coming out, that's a month of nothing. Even when we got it on Toonami with daily episodes, that's a week. It probably could have only been 3 episodes without all the cutbacks to Earth or Vegeta, but they wanted that cliffhanger after the end of the 3rd episode when the aliens were revealed. The main reason I can enjoy the nonsense of these episodes now is we live in the age of streaming. I can get through these episodes in a day, and since I've long completed the series, I can just watch these episodes whenever I feel like it if I want to see everything I like about them again. I appreciate them more now that they're not in the way of actual plot stuff. The imagery is great, it's an adventure, it wraps up with a nice explanation. As I said, watch it as a movie, but feel free to skip it on your first viewing. For number 1, it might be obvious. If I like fake Namek and flashback episodes with framing, then why not like an infamous filler arc too? Number 1, the Garlic Jr. saga. To get right into why this is hated, part of it is the fake Namek reason times 2. It's 9 episodes of a villain that will never be acknowledged again, plus the one Krillin and Marin episode after that. It delays us from seeing progression of the main storyline, this time Trunks arriving, and it would have been a wait of over 2 months when premiering weekly. It also messes with the canon because Garlic Jr. was returning after being a movie villain villain, who exists outside the story as essentially a what-if adventure. While Garlic Jr.'s movie Dead Zone mostly fits between the end of Dragon Ball and the Z portion of the anime, it still has details that don't make sense when considering the main plot, like Goku and Piccolo teaming up in the movie for the first time, yet they also team up for the first time again against Raditz. But now that Garlic Jr.'s in the anime, it's technically not what if, it allegedly happened, so fine, he's here. What goes on in this saga? Well, it's 9 episodes, so I'll give the biggest details. Garlic Jr. escapes from the Dead Zone after being knocked into it by Gohan in the movie, which was his own dimension to imprison people in. He's got 4 new henchmen. He captures Kami and Mr. Popo to steal Earth's guardianship and the Blackwater Mist, releases the Blackwater Mist to mass mind control everyone with mild demon powers, friends fight friends. Gohan leads the charge to stop Garlic Jr. and his henchmen, while Kami and Mr. Popo travel within the depths of the lookout to meet past guardians and get the purification for the mist, and Gohan finally takes out Garlic Jr. with the help of Krillin and Piccolo. This is a cool storyline with some nice fights. For the fights, we start out with some simple yet effective Gohan and Krillin versus the brainwashed friends fights. The mist gave everyone basic demonic powers of claws and sharp teeth, and makes them relentlessly aggressive. As mentioned, they're simple fights, but I like some of the matchups, like mother versus son, or student versus master. We even get some comedy with Oolong and Puar attempting to fight with sticks. Look at them, they think they're threatening. Though Puar actually went right for Piccolo's face when he arrived, leading to all the possessed fighters ganging up on Piccolo, which means that was the first useful thing Puar did in a fight since the fortune teller Baba fights. Though we later learn Piccolo was just trying to fake out the villains, so it might have not been as effective as it seemed. The henchmen fights were par for the course, but I memory hold that Gohan took out all 4. I could have sworn that Piccolo or Krillin got at least one of them, but nope. Salt and Mustard got disintegrated with a Masenko each, and the last 2 put up more of a fight, but when Gohan was pissed enough, he just obliterated both of them at the same time. They had generic powers of standard ki, with their main unique attack being the spiderweb energy entanglement that they could all do, and the 2 remaining ones towards the end of the fight did the Hulk muscle buff thing, but they mainly had that because Garlic Jr. had that power, and even without him, Zarbon was already doing that in arc before this. Spice, the blue one, did have hair manipulation, which is very rare in Dragon Ball, and one of my favorite powers, so overall, I'd say he had the best package of powers. As for Garlic Jr., once he buffs up when his home planet, the Makio Star, is aligned with Earth, I love his brute force style of fighting. Because he's immortal, he's just a brick house. He keeps going. He can crush you. No beams needed. Gohan headbutts right through him and he basically laughs it off. The shot of him grabbing Krillin by the head is iconic to me since I remember the Toonami promos really liking this scene. And the fake out Krillin does by pretending to be incapacitated was a great twist, along with him twisting his beam for a sneak attack. And then you gotta love the all-on assault of Krillin and Piccolo holding Garlic Jr. back just to stop him from moving. It shows this guy has overpowering strength. And then when he escapes, he brings back the Dead Zone for some reason. They kinda justify it where they make it seem like he thinks that he loses a stalemate when it comes to 3-on-1, so this was a quick way to get rid of everyone along with Kami. But I always assumed Garlic Jr. had unlimited stamina too, so I thought this was kinda useless. Anyway, the defeat was pretty cool. Once again, Krillin and Piccolo have to hold him back at a stalemate, and Gohan blasts the Makio Star instead to reduce him back to gremlin size, which no longer gives him the weight to withstand the Dead Zone, and bye. I thought they were just gonna regularly knock him in again. I like it, even though him summoning the one thing that defeats him telegraphed his downfall. I also want to note the side mission with Kami journeying to get the purification water. He has to go through challenges with past guardians, which explores something the series never really does. We don't know the history of the guardians, so the concept of him confronting the past at least tries to expand the lore, even when they're the same phantom dude over and over again. Also, Kami doing something in general was nice. He really only had the last tournament arc of Dragon Ball to play an active role before he was just a plot device for Piccolo and the Dragon Balls. It was sort of a reprise from his role in the Dead Zone movie, and they reused that animation of him running a lot, but it kept me interested. And finally, there's a few odds and ends I like of this arc. The Marin stuff is fine, but the Korn and Yajirobe bits are funny. They were using the cast that they had. Even Chi-Chi getting an aura aura of anger powering up early in the arc was a great "what the hell is going on" moment. This might be the most used reaction gif from this arc. Also, we see the aftermath when everyone gets unbrainwashed, and I want to know what they were doing. Roshi's like on a cruise ship, Chi-Chi beat up a biker gang? Tell me more! And the wardrobes are sleek. This had Krillin's famous suit at the end, and Krillin fighting in the ripped casual outfit was a nice change of pace from the normal gi. Really, Krillin's the outfit master in this arc. I could go on. Even though this arc confuses some lore and gets in the way of the arc everyone loves, I think it's a fun side story to watch in an afternoon or two. Once again, if you're going through the series for the first time, it's fine to skip, but if you're going to put something on with the characters that you like, why not relive the fun of this fight? I like to do it sometimes, and that's why it's my top bad filler in Dragon Ball Z that's actually good. Now, what did you think? Was all this filler still worth enjoying, or am I just too positive? Or maybe it wasn't even considered bad in general? And what's some of your favorite questionable Dragon Ball filler, whether I discussed it or not? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.